This is the 10-year natural training transformation story of a cute, small, 5'4" Asian boy who couldn't grow taller, so he grew wider. Unfortunately for him, he still has a small penis. I'm Lee. Well, this is 14-year-old Lee. I'm 25, I've been training for 10 years now, and I've been tracking my nutrition for 7 years. All consistently, 365 days a year, I guess apart from going on holidays. But even when I was sick, I still try to get myself to the gym. And well, you don't have to believe me, but I've never taken steroids, sarms, turkesterone, or any other performance-enhancing drugs. You really don't have to be a hardcore bodybuilder, and you don't have to eat chicken and broccoli your whole life to achieve this physique. But I guess to understand that, we have to go back to the early years. You know, I wasn't always this masculine, strong, hunk of a man. Actually, I'm still not. Despite how I am on camera, I've always been super introverted and self-conscious. Even now, I can't even film in public because of how much social anxiety I get, and I'm still very self-conscious about the smallest things. For example, I feel shitty if I don't train now, or if I get the smallest pimple, my self-esteem drops, I can't even talk to people with proper eye contact, and I don't even want to leave the house. And when I'm in tip-top condition, my ego is through the roof, my self-esteem and confidence peaks, I feel like I'm going to be the king of the world. But that's why I started training when I was younger. So I started training when I was around 14, 15 years old. I was always really self-conscious, you know. I was always one of those short Asian kids who didn't have much social skills because pretty much all of my older cousins and family members and everyone raised me and looked after me pretty much. But I was always envious of those like popular dudes with, you know, the abs that they had. Even those, you know, the skinny abs, they still had abs. They were very popular, had a lot of friends, had a lot of girls. And so mainly the reason why I started training was pretty much the pursuit of self-confidence. If I had more self-confidence, I could make more friends, then I could get more attention in general, and then I guess the beautiful light at the end of the tunnel, pussy. Spoiler alert, I ended up being a virgin until 23. So I started around like 53 kilos. That was my starting weight when I first started training, but I got a gym membership for the first time and I went with a couple of my friends. Being exposed to, I guess, YouTube back then in around like 2012, there wasn't a lot of knowledge in terms of training. So initially my first 3 years of training was purely a bro split. So I was only training everything like once a week and I kind of just ate as much as I could. I was eating to grow. Obviously I put on a lot of body fat. I went from 53 kilos to peak 79 kilos, nearly breaking 80. And I honestly would have kept going if my doctor didn't tell me to stop because of high blood pressure, because of how much junk food and food that I was eating and how much weight I gained in a year. I think near the end of my first year, I can't remember when I actually did it, but I ended up tearing my meniscus. So I was on crutches for a bit because I couldn't straighten my leg properly. I didn't train for like a month or so until I could straighten my leg, but I eventually kept training it with a torn meniscus. And every time I squatted, every time I did legs, there was a little bit of pain, but I just kept pushing through it, which is probably a bad idea. And then during my second year, I was around 16, 17 at that time, and I decided to do my first cut. And my first cut was essentially just a meal plan that I got from a bunch of old school bodybuilders, and it was chicken and rice, literally egg whites, oats with protein powder, and you know, the same shit every single day. It was disgusting. I lost a lot of weight, but in terms of training, I always thought that when you are cutting, you're meant to drop the weight, strip it all back, and do very, very light work. So on top of a very poor diet, very low intensity training, I lost quite a lot of muscle. I think I did get slight abs at that point. Actually, no, I don't even think I got abs. It was pretty fucking disappointing. I really wish I documented more of my progress, but I really didn't have too much gym pictures. Finally, I got my meniscus checked out on my third year of training because I kept feeling pain when I was squatting. What ended up being a usual 6-week recovery for meniscus tear surgery ended up being a 6-month recovery in a brace and 6 months rehabbing it. I wish I had photos, but my right leg was literally a twig when I took it off. I can't remember feeling that depressed though, not being able to train for that period. Not sure why. I think because I loved playing games, and I guess not being able to leave the house just meant I could play more games. And after finally getting back to square one, that's when I met Wesley, the love of my life. What? Why are you upset?
Because you said Wesley's your life of love. Boyfriend, 필요 없어. Life is lonely.
So this period is pretty much where everything really started kicking off because I started documenting my progress and I learned the importance of tracking calories. This is Wesley. He's my best friend, coach, and despite him having a fiance, I'm pretty sure he has a secret crush on me. In my 4th year, I was Wes's first client when he started Panda Coaching in 2016. I started training everything twice a week, I started tracking calories, and within 6 months, my progress was unreal. When you hear people say your diet makes up 70 to 80% of something, I feel like people still don't understand how much of a difference it really makes. So I competed in my first bodybuilding competition in 2017. Competing was something that I kind of always wanted to do, but I just wasn't sure when I was gonna do it exactly. But we did it anyways. So we went into the state competition, not really expecting too much out of it, but then I won the overall title for that. I think I was around like 65 kilos in these photos. And so I went to nationals and then I came second for overall there, and I was around 64 kilos. Like looking back at these old posing photos, we thought we had pretty good posing back then, but it looks pretty bad. But then after the comp, I fell into a binge eating disorder. And to be honest, it didn't really affect me that much mentally at this time because I guess after being low calories for so long and being in a restrictive diet, I kind of felt like I deserved to kind of pig out and let go for a little bit. The only annoying thing though is that whenever I put on weight, my face gets really fat, which is probably why I don't push beyond like 79 kilos because it's just really uncomfortable and it doesn't feel great. Nah, just kidding, I'm not eating this. I actually made this just for the video. Thank you. After the bodybuilding competition, I was pretty motivated the next couple of years as I now had a proper goal to work towards, which was the next show in 2019. I was posing all the time, training, getting stronger, and nearing the end of my bulk, I got up to 79 kilograms again. But this time, 79 kilograms from a proper lean bulk with smart training looked way better than 79 kilograms of just training. So in 2019, we competed again, which I actually vlogged nearly the entire thing on a separate channel, which you should probably not watch because it's very cringe. But if you do want to watch it, you can find it on the Panda YouTube channel. But seriously, don't watch it. Right guys, we're here at Woolworths right now, so let's go get the ingredients. For the competition, I was 23 years old and I was around 62.5 kilograms. I came second in overalls for my state competition because I wasn't lean enough, which was fine because initially, yeah, it was a bummer, but we thought it's good because nationals was around 7 weeks away and that would be the main priority, and we were planning to come in to the show at peak conditioning. But we made the mistake of giving myself a week off of my diet, which then caused me to spiral into the worst binge eating disorder. Now, I'm generally a happy person. Like mentally, I've never had any problems, never had depression or anything like that, but this was probably the worst I have ever been mentally because I was yo-yoing in and out of my diet and the thought of nationals was getting closer and closer. We had to call it quits. And I guess for anyone, after training for so many years and not getting the results you want, you eventually burn out. After pulling out from prep, I let my binge eating run its course, which lasted about a month. And throughout my 8th year, I kind of just spent that time trying to build back up to my original strength. Ever since I started tracking my calories, I think my training was mainly power building focused. I didn't really know which direction to take my training, but I thought I had kind of wanted to do a powerlifting competition before my next bodybuilding one. So I picked up a proper powerlifting coach at the beginning of my 9th year of training in 2021 and peaked at 225 kilogram squat, 140 bench, and 280 kilogram deadlift. But honestly, I think I pretty much burnt out on squat, bench, and deadlift at this point. I was at the gym for at least an hour just on one exercise. I recorded hundreds and hundreds of videos, and I just didn't want to train because I knew I had to go so heavy. My joints and knees got so bad, I got to the point where I kind of just trained for the sake of training, and I think I actually hated training in general. Near the end of the year, I decided not to go through with powerlifting, and I went back to being coached by Wesley. We took out squat, bench, and deadlifts completely, and I started training purely for hypertrophy. You know, after training for so long, it's very hard to notice progress, but I think after making that switch to hypertrophy-based training, I feel like I was actually able to train my muscles again. For the first time in years, I actually started making noticeable progress. I started as a boy who was looking for more confidence, so he grew wider because he couldn't grow taller. And throughout that entire time, no matter what happened, I was still consistent with not only my training, but tracking my nutrition every single day just to get to this point. And after all this, I feel like I finally found that enjoyment in training again. I personally love developing my physique and the confidence that it brings, and I think I kind of forgotten the true reason why I started. So for the past year and a bit, my training has purely been hypertrophy focused. I feel like my leg development has improved heaps, and I'm just overall leaner at a heavier body weight. If you haven't seen my 20-something weekly check-ins already, my goal now is to compete sometime in September. I'm going to make up for the last competition I dropped out of. We're planning to come in even leaner than last time, and I'm hoping to win my pro card as a natural bodybuilder. And by the end of this, I'm hoping I don't fall into another eating disorder, because third time's a charm. But also, now that I have all of you guys watching and supporting me, and I have to see my girlfriend's parents for the first time after the competition, there's kind of a lot of pressure. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Ladies and gentlemen, our winner and overall champion, men's bodybuilding,